us are familiar with St. Anthony of Padua, but a little bit about his life, interesting life. Fernando Martins de Bulhos was born in Lisbon, Portugal. His wealthy and noble family arranged for him to be instructed at the local cathedral school. At the age of 15, he entered the Augustinian Abbey on the outskirts of Lisbon. In the year 1212, distracted by frequent visits from his family and friends, he asked to be transferred to the mother house of the congregation, the Monastery of the Holy Cross, in Coimbra, which was then the capital of Portugal. There, the young Fernando studied theology and Latin. After his ordination to the priesthood, Fernando was named guest master at the age of 19 and placed in charge of hospitality. While he was there, some Franciscan friars arrived in the town and settled at a small hermitage outside the area. Fernando was strongly attracted to the simple evangelical lifestyle of the Franciscans, whose order had been founded only 11 years earlier. News arrived that 5 Franciscans had been beheaded in Morocco, the first of their order to be killed. Their bodies were returned and buried as martyrs in a nearby abbey. Inspired by their example, Fernando obtained permission from church authorities to leave the Augustinians to join the new Franciscan order. Upon his admission to the life of the friars, he joined a small hermitage and adopted the name Anthony. Anthony then set out for Morocco in fulfillment of his new vocation. However, he fell seriously ill before arriving and set sail back for Portugal in hope of regaining his health. On the return voyage, the ship was blown off course and landed in Sicily. From Sicily, he made his way to Tuscany, where he was assigned to a convent of the order, but he met with difficulty because of his sickly appearance. He was finally assigned to another rural hermitage in consideration of his poor health. There, he had recourse to a cell that one of the friars had made in a nearby cave, spending time in private prayer and study. One day in the year 1222, on the occasion of an ordination, a number of visiting Dominicans were present, and some misunderstanding arose over who should preach. The Franciscans naturally expected that one of the Dominicans would take the pulpit, for they were renowned for their preaching. The Dominicans, though, had come unprepared, thinking that a Franciscan would be the homilist. In this quandary, the head of the hermitage, who had no one among his own humble friars suitable for the task, called upon Anthony, whom he suspected was the most qualified. Anthony at first objected, but was told to speak whatever the Holy Spirit should put into his mouth. And Anthony ended up giving an impromptu sermon that created a deep impression upon those who were present. Not only his rich voice and arresting manner, but also the entire theme and substance of his homily and his moving eloquence held the attention of his hearers. Everyone was impressed with his knowledge of the scriptures that was acquired during his years as an Augustinian. At that point, Anthony was sent by his provincial to the Franciscan province near Bologna. He soon came to the attention of the founder of the order, Francis of Assisi. Francis held a strong distrust of the place of academics and theology in the life of his community. He feared that those things might lead to an abandonment of the friars' commitment to a life of real poverty. In Anthony, however, Francis found a kindred spirit for his vision. He was able to provide the teaching needed by young members of the Franciscan order who might seek ordination. In the year 1224, Francis entrusted the pursuit of studies for any of his students to the care of Anthony. The reason St. Anthony's help was invoked for finding lost things or stolen is traced to an incident that occurred in Bologna. According to the story, Anthony had a book of Psalms that was very important to him, as it contained the notes and the comments he had made to use in teaching his students. A novice who had decided to leave the order took the book with him. Prior to the invention of the printing press, any book was an item of value and would have been difficult for a Franciscan friar to replace given their vow of poverty. When he noticed it was missing, Anthony prayed that it would be found or returned. The thief was moved to restore the book to Anthony and return to the order. That stolen book is said to be preserved in the Franciscan friary in Bologna. Occasionally, Anthony would take other positions as a teacher, but as a preacher, he revealed his true gift. According to historians, Anthony preached the grandeur of Christianity. His method included allegory and symbolical explanations of the scriptures. In 1226, after attending the general chapter of his order, he returned to Italy and was appointed provincial superior of northern Italy. He chose the city of Padua as his location. Anthony eventually became sick with ergotism, a fungus which can cause gangrene and other bodily ailments. He retreated in 1231 and went to a wooded retreat with 2 other friars to rest. There he lived in a cell that was built for him under the branches of a walnut tree. Anthony died on the way back to Padua that same year at the Poor Clare Monastery. He was 35 years old. According to the request of Anthony, he was buried in the small church of Santa Maria Mater Domini near a convent which had been founded by him. A few years later, construction began of a large basilica, but was not completed for nearly 100 years. Today, the basilica is commonly known as Il Santo, meaning the saint. Various legends surround the death of St. Anthony. One holds that when he died, the children cried in the streets, and that all the bells of the churches rang of their own accord. Another legend regards his tongue. Anthony is buried in a chapel within the large basilica built to honor him, where his tongue is displayed for veneration in a large reliquary along with his jaw and his vocal cords. When his body was exhumed 30 years after his death, it was found turned to dust, but the tongue remained, listened and looking as if it were still alive and moist. Apparently a claim was made that this was a sign of his gift of preaching. On January 1st, 1981, Pope John Paul II authorized a scientific team to study the saint's remains, and the tomb was opened on January 6th. Anthony was canonized by Pope Gregory IX less than 1 year after his death. Because of the richness of his preachings and writings, he was named a Doctor of the Church in 1946. He is the patron saint of Lisbon, Padua, and many places in Portugal, and in the countries of the former Portuguese Empire. He is especially invoked and venerated all over the world as a patron saint for the recovery of lost items, and is credited with many miracles involving lost people and lost